Hi, how you doing? And welcome back to a video on the channel. What we have today is a wildcard video going into game week 24. And even if you're not wildcarding, hopefully these videos give you a bit of insight into, potential transfers that you could be using to get into your team, or maybe players to avoid as well. And speaking of players to avoid, that's going to be the theme of this wildcard video because at the moment you're getting kind of lots of information regarding blanks and double game weeks and players to get in and players to that you should be absolutely, having in your team. But it's also important to avoid those potential traps or bad transfers. So this is obviously only my opinion, but hopefully it might help out. I'm going to start with Nick Pope. Now, obviously, Newcastle have had an absolutely fantastic season. And have kept, so many clean sheets so far, but they have conceded in their last two against West Ham and Bournemouth, and they've also got a blank coming up and Liverpool at home, Man City away, and I think they also play Brentford, Man United, and Spurs after game week 28. They're potentially losing momentum. In the past, you've got in someone like Pope because you need the Newcastle double up to maximise the points that Trippier might get as well. But I do think that Trippier is enough for now, and it's somebody that if you've got him already, you maybe keep him. But this is looking at if you're wild carding, I absolutely wouldn't get him in. Next, we've got Robertson. Now he's really expensive, and I'm only really bringing up Robertson because although he's got low ownership, he has got a good double game week coming up. And you're going to be looking for Liverpool for that double, and supposed good fixtures afterwards. But Liverpool have only kept 6 clean sheets in 23 games so far this season. I think until last night, before Salah scored, the top goal scorer for Liverpool was the Leicester defender Face, because he got two own goals when they played Liverpool. No other Liverpool player had scored 2 goals this season. So I would just save yourself 2.5 million and go for Gomez if you still want a way in to the Liverpool defence. Next, we've got Martinelli. Now, talk about low ownership to high ownership, 37.1% owned. I do think that he looks like the cheapest Arsenal midfielder, but Trossard, been well documented, is taking his minutes and he's not returned in his last 5 games. Arsenal fixtures do look good, but Martinelli is a no. I would absolutely just try and spend zero point 0.4 million more and go for Odegaard. If money's not an option, I would definitely go for Saka above all three. But I've been saying that all season, and it's good to actually be proven right for once. Finally, we've got Mitrovic. Now, he's somebody else that's a quarter owned by managers, but he's also got no goals in his last 5 games, and Fulham's fixtures do look pretty tough. Even that Wolves game now, Wolves are kind of turning it around. So I do think that Mitrovic is an avoid. He's at a good price point, and there's not really many strikers that you think at a 6.9 or lower that you would maybe get in. But I would maybe go, really cheap for that third striker and spread the funds elsewhere. So on to the team for this game week, and we're going to start with Allison in goal. Now I know we've just talked about Liverpool defence not keeping clean sheets, but he is cheaper than Trent and Robertson, but he is also guaranteed to start, unlike Matip and Gomez. Van Dijk is supposed to be coming back in very soon. I just think you are saving 1.5 million on Trent and Robertson when you get Allison in. So I just thought that was maybe a good option to get if you wanted to get in that Liverpool defence. Into the defence we go, and I've gone with Zinchenko over Ben White here, and there's only 0.4 million in it, but Zinchenko looks more nailed on. Ben White has got Tomiyasu taking his minutes, and sometimes he's missing out on that 60th minute clean sheet, which can be super frustrating. Obviously, you take the risk of Zinchenko playing longer that you lose the clean sheet if Arsenal, concede after 60 minutes after Ben White has gone off. But I think if you're that splitting hairs about your defenders' clean sheets, I think you might as well go for the one that's definitely going to play the full 90 because there's also a rotation risk that Ben White might not start, especially as the season gets on, players get tired. Arsenal haven't rotated the squad as much as other teams have. So there is that sort of risk that once momentum's gone, is that maybe they are going to have to rotate their defenders to keep the squad fresh. Next up is Badiashile. Now, he started his last four for Chelsea. He's basically come in and he's taken that centre back slot. And Chelsea's fixtures look really good. He is somebody that's kept 3 clean sheets in four, and Southampton at home in the next one looks pretty good as well. I've decided to go with Kilman. Obviously, he is not someone that you play every week, but I would definitely play him in this week's game with Bournemouth at home. He actually has talking. I know it seems like I'm kind of slating Andy Robertson in this video, and I'm not. But he's got the same amount of points as Andy Robertson for literally half the price, pretty much. So I mean, value is there if you're looking for it. Um, Next, we've got Odegaard and Saka as we go into the midfield. And despite how the games go against against Man City this week, the fixtures do look great up to game week 23. Potential to run out of steam, but no real reason to doubt them yet, really. And they're both nailed on. I would definitely think, looking at Arsenal's fixtures, you should really be getting in a couple of Arsenal attackers, and they are the ones to get. We've also got Matoma in here, and despite the blank fixture, his fixtures after that look great. He's also got 5 attacking returns in his last six, and you could potentially get someone like Andreas now to cover the blank, and then transfer Matoma in after game week 25. I think that's also an option if you're worried about not having enough players for the blanks, and you are wildcarding now. You could potentially swap them out, and then plan some transfers in to get them back. Salah, Newcastle away is not ideal, but you're getting him in for the double after. I actually don't really rate Salah, for the value that you get, like 12.5 million. It's so much of your funds. So after game week 25, I would recommend transferring him out, and you could either spread the funds around to get in a more well balanced team, especially if you're looking at bench boosting and then in one of the more doubles coming up later in the season. Or you could rotate with De Bruyne and Fernandez. If you like the look of the rest of your team and you've just got one expensive player in there, you could just say, right, here's Fernandez, here's De Bruyne, here's Salah in my thoughts. Who's got the better fixture this week? And you could just transfer whoever you think in. Obviously, that's a super luxury place to be in your team because there's usually, fires to put out elsewhere, but that is an option as well. Rashford's also in terrific form, and all active managers probably have him in already. So you've hopefully already got him in. In which case, if you're wildcarding, don't take him out. Whatever you do, just keep riding that wave until he basically stops scoring or Man United fall off a cliff. Into attack we go, and we start with João Felix. Now, Chelsea have Southampton, Spurs, Leeds, Leicester, Everton, Villa, and Wolves in the next seven, and they just look great from an attacking point of view. I think all those teams there are conceding goals at the moment, and João Felix does look like he's going to be starting, even after his red card and to be suspended for the last 3 games. He came in this game week and scored, and I just think if you're going to be suspended and the first time you're available, you're starting again. I think that speaks volumes for where Chelsea are going to be heading in terms of their attacking front line. And we've obviously got Haaland as well. Nottingham Forest away. I'd probably captain him this game week. I think he's someone that you can absolutely get into your team, or let's face it, not take out of your team. Even though Man City are maybe a bit stop-start, I think he's someone you absolutely have to have, and the captain's armband will absolutely stay on him. Bench we go and got the requirement of having Ward in goal. Think he's been in every wildcard team just because he's the cheapest one that's playing at the moment. If you do wanted a bit of a short-term one as well, you could probably get Fraser Forster in for Spurs, but looking at Spurs at the weekend, I don't really think you'd fancy getting Fraser Forster in. I'd maybe go with Ward. Trippier is someone that's absolutely going to start normally. He's not in for this game week because Liverpool at home and Newcastle's form isn't great. I would actually consider benching Trippier if you've got him this game week. Obviously, if you're wildcarding, you still need him in because of the high ownership. But he's somebody maybe that you would consider rotating more often than not. And we've gone with Rutter from Leeds. He's Leeds' most expensive signing and has Everton and Southampton in the next two. So he's playing in that blank game week against Southampton. Then you could transfer to someone like Mbuemo afterwards. If you didn't fancy the look of Rutter, you could maybe go for Sims from Everton for 4.5 million. Started in the last game, and he's got Leeds and Villa both at home. So that's maybe an option you could consider as well. But I think, I'm really looking at that Brentford striker after game week 25, whether that's in Mbeumo or if you've got the funds for Tony. So this is really a short-term measure just to make sure you've got players for that blank game week. And then rounding off the bench, we've got Luke Shaw. Leicester at home, an okay fixture you could maybe see you'd want to transfer him in, but sorry, take him off your bench and put him in. But I don't really know who out of starting lineup you would take out for him. Um, but he is somebody that you do need to have in just for that good value that he offers moving forward. So yeah, hopefully this lineup will leave you with about 10, 11 players. Um, for the blank game week 25. We've talked about potential transfers you could do instead of like Matoma, um, and then get Matoma in after 25. You can kind of play about with it if you want, but these are good options that I think are pretty strong moving forward. So let me know what you think. Good luck in the upcoming game week, and I will see you in the next one.